Ladies and gentlemen, this man that you are looking at, his name is Luther Hall, and he was an undercover detective who was brutally beaten by 4 white officers while he was working undercover. You know, they didn't know he was an officer. When they did realize he was an officer, they started to obstruct justice. And they broke his phone and, just doing all kinds of idiot things behind the scenes. This incident actually happened in 2017. His case was finally settled recently, and he got a $5 million settlement. But I want you to listen to what happened to him. And it just goes to show you, it doesn't matter if you are a black civilian or a black police officer, you're not safe either way. Black officers are not safe either. So this came out in the Daily Coast, March 19th, 2021. Veteran black police officer brutally beaten while working undercover receives $5 million settlement. In November 2018, the Department of Justice announced that 4 St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department officers had been indicted of by a federal grand jury. So they assaulted an undercover black St. Louis police detective, Luther Hall. The assault on Hall, a 22-year veteran of the force, took place during a Black Lives Matter protest September 17th, 2017. Officer Dustin Boone, Bailey Coletta, Randy Hayes, and Christopher Myers were charged with 4 counts of willfully violating Hall's constitutional rights. Not only did the 4 officers brutalize Hall, who suffered long-term injuries, but text messages preceding the protest reportedly showed the 4 officers being enthusiastic about the prospect of violating protesters' civil rights. The officers also repeatedly worked diligently to obstruct justice after they realized that Hall was a law enforcement officer, including destroying his phone. In September 2019, Hall filed a civil rights suit against the officers, as well as the Mayor Lydia Cruson and Lieutenant Colonel Lawrence O'Toole, and recently promoted Joseph Marcantano. Hall's lawsuit not only alleged that Cruson made a glib remark about Hall's cute face being damaged by police, but Marcantano also, he was involved in the assault and subsequent attempts at cover-up, was not only able to escape any punishment, he was promoted. In February 2021, St. Louis officials completed a $5 million settlement with Hall. That's another bill taxpayers will foot for the unaccountable law enforcement apparatus that frequently steals money from citizens and from education services to fill out their budgets. On September 15th, 2017, St. Louis police officer Jason Stokely was acquitted of first-degree murder charges in the death of Anthony Lamar Smith. The acquittal, even with video evidence of Stokely saying he was going to kill this N-word. Don't you know it? Before shooting Smith 5 times following the chase, which touched off protests for racial justice. More than 80 people were arrested in St. Louis. So that was on September 17th, 2017. So these were BLM protesters that were arrested. So, wow. According to KSDK-5, the city of St. Louis has 45 days to pay Hall his settlement money. The settlement only includes Cruson, O'Toole, and Marcantano. The The 4 other officers are still on the hook for Hall's civil rights claim against them. KMOV4 reports that the 4 officers indicted, Hayes, Cabrera, have already pleaded guilty to using unreasonable and excessive force against Hall and lying to the grand jury as part of a cover-up attempt, respectively. Boone and Myers have pleaded not guilty and still await trial, along with newly indicted officer Stephen Court. Court was indicted based on statements reportedly made by Hayes. Court's defense, unlike the other 2 officers, is that he was nowhere near the incident that took place between Hall and the other officers. All 3 men face a charge of deprivation of rights under the color of law. Meyer additional charges, destruction of evidence, for his part in trying to destroy Hall's phone, while Boone and Court faces charges of lying to federal investigators. Last week, the trial of 3 men began after a slow jury selection took place. Part of the delay came after prosecutors accused the defense of striking 3 of only 4 black prospective jurors. Yeah, they try to get rid of us. They try to make them juries all white, saying that these moves were racially motivated. The judge agreed on the dismissal of 1 of the jurors being racially motivated and returned them to the jury pool. Yeah, that's what they're trying to pull in Derek Chauvin's case too. This week, prosecutors and defense lawyers began calling witnesses. The defense team for Boone and Myers are throwing a lot of things at the wall. From it was everybody else's fault to it's mostly the officer Hayes' fault. Okay, so it's just a bunch of finger pointing. The St. Louis Dispatch, Post-Dispatch, reports that many of the excuses being made by the defense, ill-fitting, riot gear, and the fact that the police officers didn't realize there were undercover officers in the protest crowd are a couple of a couple that really shine. Latter defense blame Hall himself for his own beating. Yeah, y'all always do that. Blame the black man. He's responsible for what happened when he really wasn't. Okay, so the trial is to conclude by next week. While the fundamental problem here is that law enforcement cannot just beat people up no matter how badly the officers feel about things. Well, they do that anyway. You know, they beat this man with really believing that they were going to get away with it. Because in most cases, they do. You know, the fact that he was an officer, it was not really too much they could do to get around on what they did to him. And it was unprovoked on top of that. He was just mixed in the crowd as an undercover officer. You know, that was too difficult for them to get out of the whole thing. That's why they got busted. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.